Here we go. Hey, Rhett, what's up, man? How you doing?
Gene, I'm happy to be here today. Thanks for inviting me to your new studio. It looks like JP Design Theory is doing some wonderful things. And once again, congratulations. And for the audience looking, we did one of these not too long ago, but we intend to do plenty more in the future. And hopefully we'll get better and better with our content. I know that's our goal.
Yeah.
So without further ado, let's get to it.
Let's get to it, man.
Okay.
Listen, I'm so glad you're here. It's been so long since we got together, and we used to do these videos, a lot more consistently. And pandemic happened, a little bit of life there, and different life events and whatnot. But we're here, so I'm really happy to kind of kick this up again, and looking forward to doing more of these. Today, what I wanted to talk about with you, still within the realm of websites and SEO, right?
Yeah.
Where it's 2022. And when it comes to blogging, blogging's been out for a long time. There's a lot of people that still kind of do, but at the same time, it's not really something that, at least in my circles, that we talked a lot about. And with at least with the clients that we've got and the customers that we've got, they've been asking questions like, hey, is blogging still worth it in 2022? Are there strategies? Have they changed? What were the strategies before? There's a lot that I want to get into, but that's the nebulous of what I wanted us to kind of start off on. And then let's just talk, man. Let's dig into it. Tell us what you know and what you've experienced and what you're telling people and your clients, and that way we can share with the audience and tell them how to really be successful.
Sure. Thank you. I think taking it from the top, from a technical standpoint, you want to have your blog set up the right way. And we're talking to a lot of developers in this video, and also the common person on the street. So some of this may not make sense to you, but it may make a lot of sense to you if you're a developer. But I think we need to cover this to ensure that your blog is installed right so that Google gives you the maximum attention. And what I'm referring to mainly is having your domain name set up with a folder, for example, PalmettoSoft.com/blog. That folder style setup is what's going to tell Google that you are set up the correct way, and it's going to give you the maximum SEO benefit, as opposed to having a blog.palmettosoft.com subdomain style, in which you're not going to get the same amount of credibility in the search engines or the indexing, the ultimate rankings, because Google will actually see the blog as separate from the website, two different domain names actually.
So let me hold you there, right? So I know when I first got started, that's what I did. I created, matter of fact, that's how I got started into WordPress, because like my main website, it was done in HTML, right? Yeah. And so I designed it that way, built it that way. And then, I'm getting into WordPress, doing these meetups and starting to understand it, doing a little bit of research. And it's like, oh yeah, WordPress is a blogging platform. Right. It's a lot more robust. You have more options to be able to do things. And, so I was like, okay, so I created a subdomain. I did blog.jpdesigntheory.com. Mm-hmm. At the time, I thought that worked. I still had my main website. I still linked things, and to the unbeknownst person, the a little bit of the how do you say it? The user experience was a little different, right? Because it was like a traditional hierarchy of like my page navigation and things like that. But then you get to the blog, and it's like there is none of that. There's just the blog role. So, talk a little bit more about that.
Well, a great point. And I'll tell you companies who do use subdomains, and I'll give you a good example, I think would be like Gap.com. That's a major national, international brand, as most of you know. They also own Old Navy. But if you go to Gap.com, you'll see Old Navy on there. You'll see Banana Republic, all as subdomains. And you can pull this off if you're a major international brand. Okay? The search engines will understand that you're so big that your actual branding is more important than the Google indexing, because more people are going to search for Gap and Old Navy than there are their products. Mm-hmm. Same thing with Nike and other major companies, but for small companies and organizations, we want to set it up in the folder. Okay. That's going to work for us. Okay. Yeah, but that's a great point. It's something that we don't know about until we do it, and we tend to find out later on, oh my gosh, I've been doing it wrong for so long. But hey, let's help our viewers, get it done right the first time, and doing the folders the way you want to do it.
I would imagine the same thing, right? Because like sometimes some people, even to this day, they'll start a blog on another platform, right? And then they'll still have their main website, and they'll think that, oh well, maybe I have this URL for this for the blog and maybe a slightly different URL for their main website, thinking that the two of them are working together. It sounds like that's probably, not really advantageous then, right?
In a perfect world, I always try to think about, and I've learned this later on in my career, I think about what the big companies do. And I'll use Amazon.com as another big company example, okay? You'll notice that Amazon.com has one domain name. Even at the very bottom of Amazon.com, there's an investor relations tab, which all publicly traded companies have to have. But they just, instead of putting theirs at the top because they're Amazon.com, as opposed, to a small company who would want investor relations at the top, Amazon.com puts theirs at the very bottom because they're so well known, but they still have one website, okay? So Google, in turn, wants to see small companies have it all in one platform or one domain name. You should keep it all in one domain name because it's a better user experience.
That's true.
So when we put ourselves, and I'm going to touch on this later in the video, when we put ourselves in the user's perspective, always thinking about the user experience, we tend to do things right when we blog and do other website activities. They tend to work for us because that essentially is what Google's looking for. Google really wants, from an organic standpoint, natural SEO rankings. They want the website to be a resource center of information. They want it to function well. They want it to be fast. They want it to be well thought out, and they want it to be in one contained unit.
Right. Okay, so you touched on something there, right?
Yep.
Now that we understand how things were before, we've also got to understand how things are now. Now, I'm going to touch on what I remember and when, and how I've been blogging. And I will admit to everybody, I haven't, been blogging almost at all in this year. Right, where when I first got started, it was me and we had a team of people. So it was like me and I think it was at the time it was maybe 4 other people. So we had literally a blog post that was coming out from at least 4 or 5 of us. I think it was 4 or 5 of us. So like almost every day of every week. So like each person had one that they would write per week, and we would schedule them and we would publish them, on their day. So like somebody had Mondays, somebody had Tuesdays, and then their topics were also different, right? And so like that was our setup with doing our blogs, writing our blogs at the time. But then through that we had our featured image, we had a certain amount of characters and keywords that we would kind of put in there. We would add those within WordPress for our tag, for our taglines or tag words, for keywords, and then maybe link them to other articles and whatnot. But I mean that was then, right?
Right.
What are some things now that we should know, and are some of those things still relevant? And
They are still relevant, Gene, and I'll touch on some things. We tend to do at PalmettoSoft, we tend to do a monthly blog post because a 700-word monthly blog post for all clients as a base service offering, it's just something that we do. For bigger clients with bigger budgets, we do more advanced SEO techniques, such as what's called a super blog post, and I'm going to touch on that in a little bit. But the 700-word blog post is something that we do every month for 2 main purposes. Number one, it is to get the website producing and content on a consistent schedule. This new URL being created every month with a blog shows a search engine that the website is active. You're also talking to the public, and Google likes this, right? As opposed to websites who aren't. I always try to think of things in terms of all things being equal, having a blog is much better than not having a blog. All things being equal, doing YouTube videos is much better than not doing YouTube videos, right? Like we're doing right now.
Right.
So we do a monthly 700-word post, and I'll just get on some quick parameters of what we look for.
Sure, please.
We choose a primary keyword in the SEO campaign. We'll choose a secondary keyword and or synonym type keywords. Okay. Typically, your blog title needs to be 60 characters or less because that's all Google's going to index. Try to work your primary keyword into your title. Okay. In the body of the copy, in the body of the post, mention the primary keyword maybe twice. Okay. The synonym keywords, mention them twice. No more than twice in the post. Otherwise, it's going to look unnatural, And what it does is, yeah, we're kind of hitting on the basics, but like I said, we're producing content, we're keyword specific. Also, a very important thing is think about the theme that we're writing about. And I'm talking about content with teeth, okay? Even though we're doing a scheduled post every month and we're focusing it around keywords, we don't want to get caught up in the mindset of, I am a robot, I am doing this by routine, I must do it on this date. Think about your audience again. Somebody's got to read this stuff. So the theme and the angle of the content, you can write about anything within these parameters. Write something exciting. Write something that somebody wants to read. And if you want to know if your content is quality or not, I struggled with this for many, many years because I would hear things like, your content needs to be high quality. Yes, it does, and that is a major factor in the Google algorithm. Well, how do we measure that? I figured it out, I think. You put yourself in the reader's shoes and you say, what I'm developing exciting? Is it engaging? Have I put a lot of time into it with headlines and subheadlines and supporting bullet points, supporting images with captions underneath it? Maybe a podcast link, maybe a YouTube insertion in one of the between the paragraphs. All this kind of stuff that's going to hold my user, in the post, but also excite them and engage them to where they want to come back and visit, like, or share.
I wanted to ask about them. Sure. You sound like you're about to get there. I have more, but please go jump in the comments.
Comments on a blog post. When you have a well-written blog post, you're going to get comments, okay? And I would recommend turning on your comments feature. If you're using a WordPress application, 43% of the sites in the world are built off WordPress. So there is a native WordPress plugin that you can use. It is available, and millions of websites use it. You can also use Discus, for example. And the reason I'm using these two examples is that they are indexable by Google, okay? Whereas the Facebook plugin is not indexable by Google, okay? Google and Facebook don't love each other, so by putting the Facebook comments in your blog post, Google's not going to recognize that as extra weight of conversation about the post, which is a signal to the search engine that your content is more valuable.
Correct. Yeah, that's what you would think.
Yeah. Another thing about commenting is you want to answer as the blog owner. You want to answer as many comments as you can, but there are nuances to this. Okay. If somebody says, yeah, man, I totally agree, that may not merit a comment. You appreciate it, but that may not merit a comment. Yeah, if somebody says something totally off base or totally unrelated to the post, you may want to delete it from your comments because you don't want to waste your other readers' time who are reading through the comments, because comments can be very valuable. And then if you have a really engaging question, that's a great time to give a nice expanded answer. And all of this conversation and weight not only keeps somebody on the page, but it's a signal to Google Analytics that sends the information back to Google. Hey, there's a lot of conversation about this post, and the visitor page time has increased and continually increases. Okay. Another thing that I would like to add is you want to add a social engagement bar at the top of your post. Okay?
Top of the post. Okay.
At the top of the post. Here's the psychology behind this. Imagine you go to a blog post and it's got, for example, 10,000 views. Okay? As opposed to a post that has 3 views. Which one are you probably going to be way more interested in immediately? The 10,000 view post, right? And why is that? Because you see it.
You got social.
So you're thinking, okay, this has got to be more important. So the psychology of putting a social engagement bar up there, granted, we need to have a good post, good content, but it prompts people to want to read the post. Sure. Also, when they see those comments on there, if you see 300 comments versus 2 or 1, what are you more likely to scroll down to at the bottom of the? Yeah. More likely the 300, right? And you're going to stay on the post. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy when you do everything right.
Okay.
The post gets better and better and better, and then you can always come back to the post when you have new information or you found something. or a way to make the post better, you can update it and change that update date on the post. And that little updation date, if that's a word, update, it is a signal back to the search engine that you have added to the post to make it better. So the algorithm is weighing all of these things, and yes, it is using artificial intelligence now. It is using all of these thousands and thousands of attributes, and it's looking at all this stuff, measuring it, and saying, is this a well-produced, well-thought-out piece of work? And if it is, you're going to get ranking.
Yeah. Okay. I have a quick follow up on that one though. Is when you're making these edits for updates, because I actually have seen people post where they're saying, republishing a post and saying that it was updated because something has changed. Maybe they're talking about something in the industry. Maybe there's some rules that changed, or maybe there's something newer, or whatnot, right? And so they'll say, oh, posted up. Like I've seen it even with news, right, where it's like breaking news, and then they'll come back later on to the same link and they'll say it's been edited, with updated information, right? Or they may even say where it's been edited, right? So that way you can see that in case you want to jump past what you've already read and then jump right into where you need to be, right, for the updated information. I've also seen a strategy where they'll say, hey, if you had a post like what you're saying that has so much engagement, has so much going on, and then it says, oh, there's a new blog post, part 2 or continued, or say for example, how to blog in 2022 versus how to blog in 2021. Maybe the 2021 was like really, really great, has a lot of comments, has a lot of information, resources, everything that you said. And then maybe the part 2 of that maybe could be the 2023 or the 2022, second quarter or something like that. Do you see that as a strategy as well?
Absolutely. You could have, I call this related posts. You could have a section at the bottom or even in between certain paragraphs of your post called related posts. It could be part of a 1, 2, or 3-part series, or it could simply be related posts. And blogs can link to each other as long as they are somewhat related content, I recommend. In addition, you had mentioned when you do launch your blog post, you should link to inner pages of your website. For example, standalone web pages where the content may be similar, okay? You want to do a couple of inbound links so that link juice can flow from that blog post to your main web page of your site. We typically do this 2 to 3 times in each post. Okay. And external links. This is not really a new concept, but there has been a misunderstanding, I think, in the SEO industry for a really long time about external links. Okay. Don't do them because the more external links you have, the more you're sending traffic away from your website, and you're going to get penalized for it because the search engines don't want you to do that. Right. That's not exactly true. Like we learned in school and high school and also in college, whenever you do an important research paper, you tend to have at the very bottom, you have source links, okay? Well, in the world of blogging, we can work those source links actually in the post as you're reading it. You can actually put, source and then link to typically a high quality third-party website. But what you want to do is put no follow tags with that external link. Now, the search engine Google will follow that external link to that third-party site and make the association that JP Design Theory is linking to a high-quality site such as Wikipedia, for example, okay? It's going to make that association and say, well, if he's linking to them about his content, he's basically letting them know, hey, what I'm saying is true. And and you can find more information over here. So they give you credit for that. Now, the no follow tags simply stops your link juice from being passed from your website to that website and giving them credit.
Really?
Yes.
So I've actually I have to admit I've not known what that actually meant. So you're saying, and is that something that you can produce or make a setting in each blog post? Is that a setting in your website? Is it a setting in WordPress? Like, how do you actually set that up?
As far as I have a team, Gene. You know this. They know a lot more technically than I do about this. Sure. We tend to do it. I'm gonna make an assumption right now. I may not be correct about this, but I think it's done on a per link basis.
Per link basis.
A no follow tag. Yeah.
Okay.
But there may be an automatic setting in WordPress. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But you definitely want to use the no follow tags Whenever you're linking off of your website or your web page in general, or the blog inside your website, use a no follow tag. The search engine will follow it. It'll make a notation that, hey, your work tends to be better and more authoritative and more credible, because you're linking to other resources saying what I'm saying is true, and for more information, go here. So like I said, the search engine now with artificial intelligence is looking at all of this, but that no follow tag will tell Google, stop sending our link authority, our link juice to these other websites. And keep it in-house.
Okay.
Another thing, if you don't mind, I'd like to touch on is one thing that has been a more recent development for us, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks several years ago. I was doing keyword research on some national keywords that we wanted to get ranked on, and we had been struggling for years, Gene. I'm talking about for 10 years. We were struggling with, how do we get ranked on national keywords? Do we do another website? Do we do a separate website? Do we stop doing, local SEO for this particular state? How do we go national? Do we do really extremely long tail keywords, 3 or more or 5 or 6 words in a keyword phrase, and try to peel off a potential national ranking? So as I was doing reverse engineering, I was typing in the keywords, looking in Google one day. I noticed that all of the posts for a particular keyword, they were all blog posts, the results, the first page of Google. And it was an informational type keyword, where typically you could take an informational type keyword such as SEO process, That's not typically something somebody would type in looking for a SEO provider, but it could be a keyword that somebody would look for that wants to learn more about how to do SEO, right? That we consider those an informational keyword, or the slang in our industry is an informatic keyword. Okay? Well, by doing what's called, I coined this a super blog post. It tends to be between 2,000 and 6,000 words. We start off doing an outline. It needs to be written by a subject matter expert or a team of subject matter experts. It could be a process in which you do a video shoot for a company. You write a 2,000 to 6,000 word post. First of all, you develop an outline. You have headings and subheadings.
Okay, so those are still important, right?
Yes, absolutely. You have a very powerful keyword that you center your post around. You work it in the title, okay? You work it in the body copy. You have some supporting keywords. You make your post engaging. You have supporting graphics and infographics. If you cannot create your own graphics because you're not a graphic designer, borrow graphics from another website. Just source them at the bottom. People love it when you do that. You can borrow as much material as you want to on the internet, as long as you simply put source at the bottom of it and give them credit for it.
And I'll put some links here at the bottom for royalty-free, images and graphic sites that you can actually get sourced content to be able to use specifically for blog posts and other publications. Again, by giving credit to the creators, but they're high quality stuff, both video and images that you can use. So yeah, good point.
Thank you, Gene. And I know we're beginning to get closer towards our window here.
But this is good though. You're on roll.
Thank you. I'll give you guys, as we wrap this thing up, I want to give you a great example of what I'm talking about when I say super blog post. If somebody was to go to Google and type in the term SEO process, okay, that's typically somebody that wants to know, how do you do SEO, okay? Almost all of the results on Google are blog posts. They're really extended pieces of work that have a lot of great information, and these are companies or individuals who have put a lot of time into these posts.
Right.
Well, my company currently, as of today, ranks number 5 in the world, right behind Neil Patel. I'm gonna give him a shout out because he's one of the most famous guys in the world in SEO. We are right behind NeilPatel.com. Neil Patel, as a subject matter expert with our post, the 10-step SEO process.
Awesome.
It took us over 100 hours to produce this post. Okay.
So wait, hold there for a second, because that by itself is, there's two things that you said that are huge there, right? Sure. One, Neil Patel, has been out there, in all different types of platforms, promoting, his software, promoting his, his teachings and what he's learned, right? Him and his team, and then for you to be right behind him is a huge feat of accomplishment. So props to you, Rhett, and your company PalmettoSoft to be able to get there. It's a great piece of notoriety. I don't want to just gloss over that. That's
Well,
huge.
thank you. We're also number 2 in the world for Google Ads process, right behind Google.
Wow.
So we've got a couple of other ones on there, and we're constantly we're learning as we go. But once you really put a lot of work into something and you get that ranking, what it does is not only does it starts delivering national traffic, because you want to center your super blog post around a keyword that has a couple of hundred visitors per month or a couple of thousand. So once you get that national traffic, something really unique is going to happen to you that you're going to find out. You're going to discover this. If you're going after local keywords in a particular city or some cities, and they've always had a hard time ranking on the first page of Google, as soon as you start getting national traffic to your website, those city keywords pop up on the first page all of a sudden. Google sees you as a more important entity in the world of SEO and just as an authority. So blogging is extremely important, and the way you do it and the way you go about it can be a powerful, powerful way of bringing traffic to your business and ultimately increasing sales and branding.
Yeah, so. I want to add on that. It's a testimony, right? So we have a mutual friend and colleague and client, John Hughes, right? And so you were talking about the process of how you've been working with him and your team working with him and creating content for him. And we caught up last week and he was telling me about how there's a blog post that your team wrote that was better than he could have written, really? And that garnered more traffic above and recognition above his competition. I want to say that he even, and I might be overreaching, but I mean he was saying, if I remember right, he was saying that it even did better than Disney Golf. Yeah, and some surrounding area, big golf courses, brand golf courses here. Like it was performing better for him than theirs were, right? And so I thought that was very notable to hear that and to hear that that you guys remember. Now again, it's not something that you've done overnight, right? Like you said, even for you guys and your company to get to where you are now, for that one blog post took hundreds of hours, right? And so even with John, it's been a couple months, working with him, but and not that long. I think it's maybe 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
And so to see that happen, already, I think is another notable piece to add to that, specifically in what we're talking about today, being blog posts, writing blog posts.
And for those who don't know, could you touch a little bit on who John Hughes is?
Sure, yeah. So John Hughes is actually, it's a long story that I had with him, but he is a master PGA instructor and has been in the PGA space for decades, and he's here in Orlando and Kissimmee, Florida. And he's got a couple of properties in terms of his offerings, both his own personal property for John Hughes Golf, as well as Instant Golf Improvement and a couple of others. And so he provides instructionals for those who are looking to elevate their golf game and improve their golf game. And so he has been in the WordPress space for a number of years, and I've and that's how we kind of met. And to see where he is now with what he's learned and being able to step aside and focus more on what he does best and a master of, and allow you and your team to kind of walk in and help him to grow his business, has been remarkable. I've seen it. I've seen the difference, and he's very happy with it. Even though he's someone who's very familiar with WordPress because he's been in the industry for a while and learned it and got into it, done all the types of things, whether it's installing plugins, using different types of resource websites like SEMrush and things like that to try to cultivate his presence more. He had gotten to a little bit of a wall, right? It's like I don't know what else I need to do or I can do, and that's where I brought you in.
Thank you, and to John's testament too. He from a marketing standpoint, he had done so much not only is he one of the best golf instructors in the PGA, and he's very well known, John's own marketing and understanding of SEO is at a very high level. I call these the 10 percenters because about 10% of my clients tend to be in that group that know quite a bit about SEO, with the other 90% just is a dramatic fall off. But John had hit a wall, and he asked us to come in and help him, and we've been working with him now for about a year. And he also does blogging under our direction, so his blog they're improving. His blog posts are improving as well as his keywords. But yeah, it does work. It does work when you have great content, and John does, and then you follow certain parameters. And then finally, what I'd like to say is this is more of a personal belief as as you're working and you're doing blogging and things. If you ever get scared, or is somebody going to read this, or you're on video and you think, I don't want to be on video because I look terrible. Always remember this in the back of your head. Everybody wants you to do good. You know what I mean? Don't be scared. Go out there and do it. And your work's going to speak for itself, and you're going to get a lot more benefit by simply the act of doing it than not doing it. And always remember, there's going to be a whole lot of people out there who are simply not going to do it. So that automatically puts you in a winning category.
That's true. That's a good way to look at it. That's very true. A lot of times we do get stumbled by that, right? We're trying to be perfectionists right out the gate, and perfection is not something.
I want to touch finally on that too.
Yeah.
Speed is better than perfection. Mm-hmm. So many of us wait to perfect. I want to perfect this. I want to get this perfect. Well, guess what? All that time that we're spending trying to perfect something, we're not to market. We don't have that video on YouTube. We don't have that blog post live, So all that time that we spend, there's a cost to doing business here. There's a cost benefit analysis too. Mm-hmm. We got to think about how much time am I losing? Mm-hmm. How much marketing time am I losing right now?
It's that, but it's also the idea of like, okay, if I've got these great ideas that I want to bring to market, maybe it's a second version, a second iteration of a product or a service, right? That is able to, accommodate for a more niche demographic that would really appreciate the additional value, right? So that means, okay, they probably would want to spend a little bit more on this product, right? Or this service. And by holding on to launching that for perfection, it now, all the time that you're holding on to it, that's a whole bunch of customers or clients that are not going to see it and will go to your competition because your competition has it out there. And your competition may not even be better. It may be significantly worse than what you're ready to offer. But then in your mind, you're thinking it's just got to be perfect. It's got to be, all these T's and dots and I's and ready to go and in a certain way. And it's like, no, is the solution ready to go? Can you provide me the solution? Yes. Put it out there. Exactly.
Speed to market. We don't have to be perfect. The people watching our videos are not thinking, oh, is this shirt perfect? Is this? We think this in our head. We're too hard on ourselves. But I really appreciate this conversation, Gene. I think we covered a lot of great material. I hope that our viewers got something out of this. Please subscribe to our channel. Like us, comment below. We will answer. And we also intend to do some other videos in the near future. And our goal is to make these things even better.
Exactly. And watch us grow as we do it. Yep. Thanks, Rhett. I really appreciate you being here, man. This is great.
Thank you, Gene. Thanks for having me.
Indeed.